Hi guys, I'm Diana. I'm the head of marketing here in the UK, and today we'll be talking about how to use search data to acquire, save, and win back customers on use cases such as Brexit, Tesco, and Airbnb. A little bit about Hitwise. We are a competitive benchmarking and consumer insights market leader, and we've been on the market for about 20 years, basically since the internet has been mainstream. And we focus on benchmarking your performance against key players in your space, understanding and monitoring online consumer behavior, both for you and your competitors, providing you with the best return on investment on your channel strategy, and last and not least, measuring your pre, during, and post-campaign performance for your sponsorships. Today's agenda will be focusing on search data to acquire new growing audiences, saving your audiences at risk, and winning back your lost audiences. How to acquire new growing audiences with search data. 2019 has started with a lot of uncertainty. We know that the pound has fallen since the 2016 referendum. Retail spend has stalled for the first time in a decade last year, and the travel industry is kind of worried about the consumers' shifting behavior. But there's been a particularly growing concern at the end of last year, particularly in the beginning of this year. And naturally, the UK online population is worried about the financial impact of Brexit. There have been some aggregated themes coming out of the search term variations around Brexit. Between September 2018 and February 2019, the UK population has cared about the pound, the property space, and the economy in general, with these searches growing in the double digits. So what can you do with search data on macro trends such as these? If you work in media and publishing, for example, you can inform both your content and your commercial strategies. Diving deep into what search term variations are there quite popular around Brexit, you can understand what can drive high volume and high engagement to your site. But not only that, you can monetize on it by putting an audience lens onto it. Understand who are these people searching for Brexit and being worried about the financial impact of this political move. You will know where they are geographically, who they are demographically, and you'll also understand their lifestyle attributes. Are they married? What's their salary bracket? Do they travel to exotic places? What do they read online? What do they purchase? Do they care about ethical clothing? That sort of information can help with your display advertising strategies. But zooming in into one of these aggregated themes of concern, we decided to look into the property space, and more specifically, around first-time buyers. It would be easy to assume that younger segments will be more likely to search around first-time buying. But not looking at the actual audience data, i.e. which consumer groups are more likely to search for search term variations around first-time buying, we'll be missing some opportunities. For example, already homeowners tend to index quite highly for first-time buyers such as high-income professionals or asset-rich grays. Obviously, their search behavior is a little bit different. Rising metropolitans tend to search for ISAs and podcasts around the topic, whereas, for example, asset-rich grays look for stamp duties and advice and guidance, probably for their children. So not generalizing and not being stereotypical can help us discover new audiences we could acquire. We looked at the difference in search behavior for different audiences, but now, for example, if you want to put together strategies to acquire the asset-rich grays, how do we differentiate their actual clicking behavior between the rising metropolitans and this new audience group? For example, the rising metropolitans are more likely to click on things like help to buy Croydon or help to buy a loan. whereas the asset-rich grades are looking for calculators, stamp duties, and being more generally around South London. Also, understanding the paid versus organic rate can help you put together strategies. Like, for example, you can double down on help to buy loan on your PPC campaign. But not only that, you can format your content based on the device that audience group is using. By putting an audience lens on your search data, you can discover new consumer segments that you've never considered before, even in a time like Brexit. But it's not only important to acquire and grow your audience base, it's also equally important to retain and save your audiences at risk. Moving on from the media and publishing or finance space or Brexit altogether, last year we've seen a string of mergers and acquisitions. Whether we're talking about Sainsbury's and Argos, Sainsbury's and Asda, Amazon and Whole Foods, etc., we decided to zoom in a little bit more into the retail space. Based on a survey from Deloitte, the average consumer has about 14 loyalty cards. So how do you even attempt to understand where loyalties lie and when a consumer dips in and out of your brand? Let's look at Tesco Clubcard and Nextacard. Their audience base is relatively similar, and interestingly, about a quarter of that audience overlaps. So if I were Tesco, how do I profile my audience versus Nectar's audience? How do I understand the difference in behavior between my loyalists and that overlapping customer? And how do I migrate that overlapping audience segment onto my side? In order to do that, I need to understand when they choose Tesco and why, and when they don't choose Tesco and why. So zooming into that overlapping group, I want to see when they dip in and out of the Tesco Clubcard. So we can see that the overlapping Tesco and Nextacard group chooses Tesco when they go and search for things like low-calorie foods, garden, and appliances. And they don't choose Tesco when they look for stir-fry ingredients or bedding. They go to Sainsbury's or Argos for that. Understanding that can help me put together more personalized offers to attract that overlapping group to choose Tesco all the time. On top of that, being able to profile and differentiate how my loyalists behave differently from Nectar's loyalists can help me put together strong conquesting strategies. Last but not least, how to win back your lost audiences, i.e. those consumers that have considered you through their path to purchase but haven't converted on your site. And let's look at a travel example this time, like Airbnb. During the summer months, like from July to September, we can see that Airbnb gets quite a few visits to their site. And their conversion rate varies between 12 to 14%, growing throughout the summer months. Even a small uplift in that conversion rate could mean a lot for Airbnb. So how do we turn those browsers into buyers? First of all, we would need to understand where those visits go after they leave the Airbnb site. A lot of them will go back into their search journeys, about 20%, closely followed by other rental competitors or travel aggregators. By looking at that shift month on month to see a pattern, we'll see that Google and Booking.com are kind of losing that search share, whereas Home2Go and LastMinute.com are growing by over 20%. Now that we understand where our browsers go, we need to understand why. What search term variations are driving clicks to those competitors' sites? So our browsers, the Airbnb audience segment, what do they click on after they leave our site to go to our competitors? So for example, we can see that for booking.com, they go for locations like Manchester, Amsterdam, and for lastminute.com, they go to Budapest. We can build our PPC strategies and our conquesting strategies by doubling down and bidding on things like location or particular keywords like bungalows, Puerto del Carmen. Making that difference between our browsers and our buyers is very important in order to build conquesting strategies and bring that audience back. So we've looked at how to acquire new growing audiences through search data by looking at their search behavior with an audience lens, how to save your audience at risk by understanding the difference between the exclusive audience and the overlapping audience when they dip in and out of your brand, and how to win back your lost audiences by making a difference between your browsers and your buyers to devise win-back strategies.